Hello everybody and welcome. I'm Simon Leach. I thought we'd do this series of clips from down here on the beach, from my beach house. And just love the sound of the waves, don't you? Relaxing, looking out across the water. Well, sorry, I hate to break it to you, but we're not really down the beach, we're here in my studio, and this is my summer house which I've been working on down the bottom of the garden. Hey, what I wanted to do really was share with you a few, well, one or two glaze recipes. Now I hope you'll forgive me, I'm going to get into the hammock. Now probably I will fall out. All adds to the entertainment. Ah, I love hammocks. Now, always good, get yourself a file, plenty of paper, so you can make sketches, etc. This is a book where I keep for, somebody gives me a glaze recipe, somebody gives me a design for a kiln. I got old letters here from my dad and bits and pieces. Oh, I don't know. Anyway, it's a good thing to have, I think, just to have a book that you can call it your scrapbook, your sketchbook, your glaze book, whatever you want to call it. It doesn't actually matter. Now, I did mention the other day about a recipe for a glaze that was called gunmetal. And I had several people saying, oh, do be interested in the recipe. Well, to be quite honest, it's not a recipe that I ever made up myself, but it's one that I used to make up when I used to work for my father, and it's one that we used in the studio when I used to work for him. Gunmetal. It's a rather it very much looks like gunmetal. I don't know how to any better way to describe it. It's a sort of very dark, blacky, browny. It's not sort of shiny. It's kind of satiny. It's very finely crystalline on the surface. It's a what I call a rather subtle glaze. It's not a glaze that immediately appeals to you, maybe, but one that might grow on you. Unfortunately, I haven't got one here in my hand to show you. It probably wouldn't really do it justice anyway through the video camera. Anyway, I'll give it to you. It is, take a pad and a pencil, paper and pen, whatever. And what have we got here? China clay. Now this is just, is not actually, if you add all this up, it doesn't actually come to a proper percentage. But anyway, just take down these figures. These are the quantities, alright? China clay 30, feldspar 25, whiting 25, quartz 25. That's your sort of base part of the glaze, and now what gives it the interesting colours: cobalt oxide 1.5, red iron oxide 8, and manganese dioxide 3. That's the combination of oxides that gives it this rather dark, heavy, sombre, but not unattractive colour. I'm also going to give you another glaze. That glaze I've just given you may be for the little bit more adventurous amongst us. I personally, I really like glazes that are, for me, the simpler a glaze the better. I'm not one of these people that likes to mix up, you know, like the more ingredients the better, and the more complicated it is the better. Because actually, you don't actually get a better glaze necessarily by having more ingredients. And more often than not, the best glazes contain maybe 1, 2 or 3 ingredients, and that's it. I've got another glaze here. This is one that we used to use. Again, this is not a glaze of my own, but one I've used, and one that we use in the pottery at the Lower Down Pottery, Devon, England, where I used to work. Well, I did my apprenticeship with my father, David Leach. This was a very standard celadon glaze that my father worked out, and we used successfully and I continue to use it. And my current celadon glaze is exactly this. Depending on the, oops, wind is blowing my papers away. Depending on the clay body that you are using, if you're using a clay body that doesn't have very much iron in it, then you get a very clear, nice, clear, light coloured celadon. And if you have more iron in the body, you'll tend to get a darker kind of celadon. Anyway, I'll give it to you. It's very simple. Basically, 25%. It's got Cornish stone written down here, but I don't expect we'll get Cornish stone out of England, but felspar will do. I use felspar, potash felspar. 25 potash felspar, 25 china clay, 25 whiting, and 25 quartz. Now, to get the nice celadon, we need to add 2% red iron oxide. We did used to do what my dad called a ying ching, which was, I don't know why he called it that, but was a 0.5% red iron oxide. And that gives a very pale celadon, but very nice on porcelain. Alright, so now that one is a glaze that is sort of matures about 1270 degrees C. Pardon me for those of you who measure in Fahrenheit. I don't do Fahrenheit. You'll have to convert it. 1270 centigrade. In reduction, it's a reduction. But all of these glazes I give you will be all for reduction. I don't have any glazes for oxidization. Gunmetal, and others that I'll give you. And this celadon, the temperature of the gunmetal. Now, what was that? Well, you could always just got a feeling it was like middle to top of the kiln, like not at the bottom. Celadon always used to be sort of slightly down at the bottom of the kiln, not high at the top. Otherwise it tends to craze and go very shiny. And it's a very slightly, the celadon is a very slightly, I wouldn't say matte, but it's very slightly satiny, if you understand me. Okay folks, well look, there we have it, a couple of glazes for you, gunmetal and celadon. And I just thought I'd share those with you. And well, what can I say but bye from the beach. See you next time. Bye now.